I fixed a broken signal. An alien princess came up to me. The person I've been dreaming of." To him, the night sky was not just a canvas of stars, it was a puzzle. Somewhere out there, he was convinced, something or someone was trying to reach humanity. And tonight, like every night, he hoped he would be the one to listen. His fingers danced over the controls of his old radio telescope, adjusting frequencies, scanning waves, and filtering static. Most nights were dull, with only the faint whispers of pulsars and satellites crossing his screen. But tonight, a peculiar burst caught his attention. It was faint, broken, and irregular, unlike anything he had heard before. Ethan leaned forward, squinting at the lines of code streaming on his monitor. "What are you?" he murmured to himself. The signal had gaps, as if someone or something was speaking in a language only partially understood. And yet, beneath the static, Ethan could hear emotion, fear, urgency, and hope. He worked tirelessly, adjusting the receiver, amplifying the weak signal, trying to reconstruct the fragments into something meaningful. Hours passed. The city outside slept, the streets empty, but Ethan did not notice. He was consumed. As the minutes stretched into hours, the broken signal began to form words, or something like words. A voice, soft, melodic, and urgent. "Please help figure the one human can." Ethan froze, heart racing. Could it really be? Humans had sent signals into space for decades, but replies, real replies, from someone alive, or something alive. He recorded the transmission, running it through dozens of software programs he had developed himself. Each iteration revealed more of the message. Time lost, civilization danger, destiny, only you. The words made no logical sense, and yet Ethan felt a strange pull in his chest. Something about the voice felt familiar, almost like a dream he had forgotten. It was not threatening, not even demanding, it was pleading. Ethan paused, leaning back in his chair. This is impossible," he whispered, but the thought thrilled him. What if it was real? What if someone somewhere was reaching out, asking for his help? He did what any dedicated engineer would do. He kept working. Night turned to dawn, and his small apartment was filled with the soft glow of monitors and the quiet whirring of machinery. With each adjustment, the signal became clearer. The voice seemed almost human, though not quite. There was a musical tone beneath every word, as if language itself had a rhythm he had never encountered. Finally, after days of decoding, Ethan could understand the message more clearly. It was not just a signal. It was a plea for help from a civilization he had never known existed. They were in danger. Their technology, though advanced, could not solve the problem alone. And they had been waiting for him. Ethan rubbed his eyes. "Waiting for me?" he muttered. The absurdity of it made him laugh nervously. "Why me? I'm just me." The message repeated with a new phrase, "the one I have been dreaming of." Ethan shivered. It felt strange, almost impossible. How could anyone, anywhere, be dreaming of a man who had spent his life quietly listening to the stars? Yet the voice held certainty, hope, and an unshakable faith in him. For the first time, he considered the impossible. Perhaps he was meant to answer. Perhaps he was not just a listener but a participant in something far greater. The next night, as he prepared to decode more signals, there was a strange vibration in the room. The lights flickered, and a faint shimmer appeared near his workstation. Ethan froze, eyes wide, heart hammering. At first he thought it was a trick of the monitors or his exhausted mind. But the shimmer grew, forming into a shape, delicate, glowing, almost ethereal. And then, standing before him, was a figure unlike anything he had ever seen. She was tall, slender, with skin that seemed to reflect light like liquid silver, and eyes deep and glowing, filled with a curiosity that mirrored his own. Her presence was calm, yet powerful, as if the universe itself had conspired to place her here. You are the one," she said, her voice gentle, melodic, carrying the same tone as the signal. "You're the person I've been dreaming of." Ethan blinked. He tried to speak, but no words came out. He could only stare, heart racing, mind spinning. I know this is strange, she continued. I am Princess Sarai of the Lyrian people. My world is in danger and I was told that you could help. Ethan swallowed hard. I don't understand. You're from where? How? Sarai's eyes softened. It is a long story. But the signal you repaired, it reached me and I reached you. Time and space, they do not follow the rules you know. He shook his head, still struggling to process. A princess, from another world, and she believed he was the one to help save her civilization. Ethan wanted to laugh, but the seriousness in her eyes stopped him. What kind of danger? He asked cautiously. She paused, looking out the window at the stars. A force that erases civilizations. It is not like your wars or disasters. It consumes, leaving nothing behind. My people have advanced technology, but it cannot stop this. Only someone, outside our ways of thinking, someone human like you, can find the solution. Ethan swallowed again. He had spent years solving impossible problems, repairing broken machines, and decoding signals that no one else understood. But this was beyond anything he had imagined. Yet somehow he felt a strange confidence. It was as if the universe had whispered his name, guiding him to this moment. I'll try, he said finally. Sarai smiled, relief and hope shining in her glowing eyes. That is all I ask. Come with me, Ethan. There is little time and your world will not believe this, but my world needs you. Ethan hesitated. He thought of his quiet apartment, the familiar hum of Earth's machines, the safety of everything he knew. And then he looked at the stars, thinking of the countless possibilities waiting beyond the night sky. Okay. Let's do it, he said, finally letting the unknown pull him forward. Sarai extended her hand, and as he took it, a swirl of light enveloped them. The apartment disappeared, replaced by the endless expanse of space, stars stretching infinitely in every direction. Ethan felt weightless, yet more alive than ever. The journey had begun. A human, ordinary in every way, now tasked with extraordinary responsibility. The universe, it seemed, had chosen him. And as the stars sped past, Ethan realized that for the first time in his life, he was not just watching the universe. He was part of it. For hours, maybe days, time was meaningless in this space. The shimmering transport carried them. Ethan saw planets, nebulae, and cosmic structures that defied imagination. Sarai explained bits of her world, its culture, and the legends of a human who would one day arrive to help them. Ethan listened, fascinated. Everything he had believed about the universe was changing. Finally, the transport slowed, and they approached a planet unlike any he had ever seen. Cities floated above clouds, glowing with energy. Bridges connected towers that shimmered with light. Flying vehicles moved like schools of fish. And yet, despite the beauty, there was a tension, a sense of urgency. This is my home, Sarai said softly, and it is in danger, but with you I believe we can save it. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling a mix of awe and fear. He was just a human. How could he help an alien civilization? And yet, looking at Sarai's eyes, full of hope and trust, he felt a spark. Perhaps humanity's greatest strength was not technology or power, but the courage to try, even when the odds seemed impossible. As they landed, Ethan realized something profound. This was more than an adventure. It was a chance to prove that humans, with all their flaws and limitations, could shine in ways no one, alien or human, could predict. And so, with determination swelling in his chest, Ethan took his first steps onto a world far beyond Earth, ready to face challenges he could not yet imagine. The signal had called him, and he had answered. The stars above seemed to shimmer in approval, as if the universe itself was watching, waiting to see what a human could do. The first time Ethan laid eyes on Sarai's world, he felt as if he had stepped into a dream. The sky shimmered in colors he could not name, violet fading into gold, streaked with strands of emerald light. Cities floated above clouds, held aloft by technology that seemed like magic to him, yet had a logical elegance he could almost understand. bridges of glowing crystal-connected towers that stretched impossibly high. Everywhere he looked, there was movement, ships that hovered like birds, people walking in strange robes, their skin and hair displaying patterns of light. Ethan blinked, trying to take it all in. This is amazing," he whispered. Sarai smiled, a mix of pride and nervousness in her expression. "It is beautiful, yes," she said softly, "but beauty will not save us. There is little time. You must understand that my people are afraid." "Afraid of what exactly?" Ethan asked. He tried to keep his voice calm, but his heart raced. Every step he took seemed heavier than the last, as if the air itself was charged with urgency. Sarai's expression darkened. "A force moves through the galaxy, one that consumes everything in its path. Planets, civilizations, nothing survives it. My people call it the Void's shadow. Even our most advanced weapons and defenses cannot stop it." Ethan shook his head. "I don't understand. How can something just erase entire civilizations?" "The universe is vast," Sarai replied, "and sometimes the rules of survival are beyond comprehension. Our scientists have tried everything, but the shadow is not like anything they have faced. It adapts, changes, and grows stronger with each failed attempt. Only an outsider, someone unbound by our ways of thinking, might see a solution." Ethan swallowed hard. "And that's why me?" Sarai's eyes glowed softly. "Yes. The signal you repaired reached me, and I have been preparing for someone like you. My people have ancient prophecies about a being from a distant world, one who would come to aid us in our darkest hour. They call it the One Human. You are that human." Ethan tried to laugh, but it came out as a strangled cough. "Me? I'm just an engineer. I fix machines, listen to signals. That's it. I'm not a hero." "You are exactly what we need," Sarai said firmly. "Sometimes it is not the strongest or the bravest who save worlds. Sometimes it is the one who thinks differently, the one who never gives up." Ethan looked down at his hands. He had spent years solving problems no one else could solve, repairing broken signals, designing systems from scratch. He had always thought it was small work. But now, this work mattered in ways he could never have imagined. They arrived at the city's central tower, where the leaders of Sarai's people waited. The council chamber was enormous, circular, with a dome of transparent crystal showing the stars beyond. Hundreds of figures stood or floated in robes of varying colors, their faces filled with curiosity, skepticism, and fear. "Your Highness," a tall figure with golden hair and silver-patterned robes said as Sarai entered, "you bring a human." "Yes," Sarai replied, her voice steady. "This is Ethan Patel. He answered the signal. He can help us." The council murmured. Some faces betrayed doubt. A human? Could a creature from another world possibly understand what they were facing? Could he really be the one to save them? Ethan felt a wave of nervousness. He had never spoken before such a crowd, much less aliens. His voice trembled as he said, I will try. I don't know everything, but I can think, I can work, and I can try to find a solution." There was silence. Then the council leader, a woman with skin like polished silver and eyes like amber, stepped forward. "Very well," she said, her voice calm but firm. "We will allow you to assist. But know this, failure is not an option. The shadow spares nothing." Ethan nodded, determination rising inside him. "I understand." For the next several days, Ethan worked alongside Sarai's engineers and scientists. They showed him their technology: massive energy cores, ships capable of interstellar travel, and machines that manipulated gravity and light. It was advanced, far beyond anything on Earth, but the shadow had already proven that even their best technology was insufficient. Ethan observed carefully. He asked questions, tested ideas, and suggested alternatives. Sometimes they looked at him with disbelief, other times with wonder. Slowly, they began to see that his human perspective, his creative, flexible thinking, was valuable. He didn't see limits where they did. He didn't assume rules could not be broken. One afternoon, Ethan worked in a lab filled with pulsating energy cores. Sarai joined him, her expression thoughtful. "You work differently from us," she said. "We follow patterns, we predict. You improvise." "That's how humans survive," Ethan said with a small smile. "We adapt. We make mistakes, learn, and keep moving. Sometimes the impossible is just the next challenge." Sarai's eyes sparkled. "Perhaps that is why you were meant to come." Their collaboration deepened. Sarai began to see Ethan not just as an outsider, but as a partner. His ideas sparked hope among her people. Engineers who had grown despondent with repeated failure began to try again, inspired by his determination. Scientists who had lost faith in their research found renewed creativity. One evening, Ethan stood on a balcony overlooking the floating city. The sky was alive with the colors of a distant nebula. Sarai joined him silently. "Do you ever miss Earth?" she asked, her voice soft. Ethan thought of his quiet apartment, the streets, the radio telescope, and the stars he had watched from his window. "I do," he admitted. "But right now, I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be." Sarai nodded. "I think your world is lucky to have someone like you. And I know my people are lucky too." Just then, an alarm sounded across the city. Red lights flashed and a low hum vibrated through the air. Ethan's heart pounded. "The shadow," Sarai said, her voice tense. "It has been detected nearby. We have little time." Ethan followed her to the control room, where holographic screens displayed the position of the shadow. It was massive, dark, and moving with terrifying speed. Ethan felt a chill. He had seen diagrams, studied the signals, and read the warnings, but now, seeing it in real time, he understood the true scale of the threat. "This is enormous," Ethan muttered. Sarai placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are not alone. Together, we can find a way." Ethan nodded, determination rising again. "Then let's start." The council gathered to plan. Ethan suggested approaches they had not considered, combining their technology with simple but bold ideas he had learned from years of problem-solving on Earth. Some were skeptical, but others were willing to try. Slowly, the tide of doubt began to shift. As they worked through the night, Sarai watched Ethan closely. His determination, creativity, and calm under pressure inspired everyone in the room. For the first time in many cycles, hope returned. Ethan realized something profound. Being human was not a weakness. Their adaptability, creativity, and resilience were strengths the shadow could not predict. Humanity's spirit, its courage, determination, and ingenuity, was what gave him the edge. Days turned into nights as the team worked tirelessly. Ethan learned the names of the energy cores, the principles of gravity manipulation, and the history of Sarai's civilization. He shared stories of Earth, of humans solving problems with limited resources, of hope in the face of adversity. The alien scientists listened, fascinated. One day, while examining a network of floating sensors above the city, Ethan noticed a pattern in the shadow's movement. He traced it with his hands, drawing lines in the air. "I think I see a weakness," he said. "It's not perfect, but it's a start. If we can channel energy in this configuration, we might be able to slow it down." Sarai's eyes widened. "Do you think it will work?" Ethan shrugged. "I don't know, but we won't know until we try. That's the point. Trying is the only way forward." The princess nodded. "Then we try together." For the first time since his arrival, Ethan felt a sense of belonging. He was no longer just a visitor from Earth. He was a part of this world, part of this mission. And with Sarai by his side, he felt a bond that went beyond language or species. A connection built on trust, hope, and the shared belief that even the smallest spark could light a galaxy. The shadow loomed closer each day, but the human engineer and the alien princess continued to work tirelessly. The city, once filled with fear, now buzzed with cautious optimism. Humanity's ingenuity was weaving itself into the fabric of an alien civilization, and for the first time, the impossible seemed within reach. And as Ethan stood once more on the balcony, looking at the stars beyond the floating towers. He realized that answering a broken signal had changed everything. It had brought him here, to this world, to this mission, to a destiny he could never have imagined. The adventure was only beginning, and the universe was waiting to see what a human could do. Ethan awoke to a city glowing softly under the light of twin moons. The air was cool and filled with the hum of energy from floating towers and vehicles gliding silently between them. He stretched and looked around, realizing that he was no longer a visitor in this world. Somehow, in just a few days, he had become a part of it. Yet the threat of the shadow loomed large in every mind around him. Sarai arrived quietly at his side. Her presence was calming, but her glowing eyes betrayed the urgency of the day. "We have much to do," she said. "The shadow's movement is unpredictable. If we do not act soon, entire sectors of the city could be lost." Ethan nodded. "I understand. Let's start with what we know." They entered a laboratory filled with strange devices, pulsing lights, and walls covered in holographic screens. Scientists worked tirelessly, adjusting parameters and monitoring energy flows. Ethan felt both awe and responsibility. He was still human, an ordinary engineer from Earth, yet these aliens believed he could make a difference. Sarai guided him to a large display showing the shadow's position. It moved like a dark wave, consuming energy fields and matter in its path. "Our weapons cannot touch it," she said, "and our shields fail against its energy signature." Ethan studied the display, his mind racing. He remembered Earth's old methods of problem-solving, pattern recognition, trial and error, and lateral thinking. He examined the shadow's movement, noticing something subtle. It adjusted only after contact with energy sources. In other words, it reacted but did not predict. "Wait," Ethan said, pointing at the display. "It responds to energy input, but only after it interacts. If we can create a system that anticipates its pattern instead of reacting, we might gain control." The alien engineers exchanged uncertain glances. One of them, a tall figure with luminescent hair, spoke. "But that requires predicting the unpredictable. It is impossible." Ethan smiled faintly. "Nothing is impossible if you approach it differently. Humans solve impossible problems all the time. Sometimes the solution is simple, but no one sees it because they are thinking too much like the problem." Sarai watched him closely. "Your perspective, it is unlike anything we have seen." They began to experiment. Ethan worked side by side with the alien engineers, combining their advanced technology with human ingenuity. They tried numerous methods, some failing spectacularly, others showing small glimmers of progress. Each failure taught them something new, and slowly, the impossible began to look possible. Days passed with little rest. Ethan rarely slept, spending his time calculating, testing, and improvising. He adjusted devices, recalibrated energy cores, and reprogrammed the city's defensive systems. The alien engineers marveled at his persistence. While they had focused on precision, Ethan focused on adaptability. One day, a young engineer approached Ethan. "Your method, it is strange, but it works. How do you know what to try next?" Ethan shrugged. "I don't know for sure, but I trust trial and error. And I pay attention to patterns the shadow leaves behind. Every small reaction tells us something. You just have to notice." That night, Ethan and Sarai walked along a high bridge connecting two floating towers. Below them, the city sparkled like a constellation brought to life. "Do you ever feel fear?" Ethan asked quietly. Sarai looked at him, her expression serious. "Every moment, but fear is natural. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to act despite it." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "That's very human," he said. "I think that is why you were chosen," Sarai replied. "Your people face challenges without the certainty of success. They try because they must and because they hope. That hope, it is rare." The next morning, they began testing a new device Ethan had designed. It was a combination of their energy cores and human engineering logic. a system that could anticipate the shadow's movement and redirect its energy harmlessly. The plan was risky. If it failed, the energy could overload, damaging the city itself. Ethan and Sarai coordinated the team. The aliens worked with precision, following his instructions exactly. Ethan monitored every variable, adjusting in real time. The tension in the room was palpable. As the shadow approached, a dark wave moving faster than light through the outskirts of the city, Ethan held his breath. "Now," he said, the system activated, channels of energy flowing into the device. The shadow hit the field, and for the first time it recoiled, its dark tendrils retreating slightly. A cheer erupted from the engineers. Ethan felt a rush of relief. "It's working," he exclaimed, barely believing it himself. Sarai's eyes shone with pride. "You see, even the impossible can be challenged. And humanity, your human ingenuity is stronger than you think." Over the next few days, they refined the system, making it more efficient. Each successful trial strengthened the bond between Ethan and Sarai. They trusted each other implicitly. While they came from different worlds, their shared determination created a partnership stronger than either could have imagined. Ethan's presence inspired more than just technical progress. The citizens of the city began to see hope again. Where despair had lingered, courage and determination began to bloom. Humans, though unknown to this world before, became symbols of adaptability and perseverance. Ethan realized that his small, ordinary actions were influencing an entire civilization, proof that even one person could make a difference. One evening, after another long day of experimentation, Ethan and Sarai stood on the observation deck overlooking the city. Below, the energy of the floating towers pulsed rhythmically, a heartbeat of hope in the face of darkness. "Do you ever regret coming here?" Sarai asked. Ethan shook his head. "Never. I always wanted to understand the universe. But I never imagined I would actually be part of it in such a direct way. It's incredible," Sarai smiled. "You are more than part of it. You are shaping it. Your people, your courage, your creativity, they matter here more than you know." The calm was broken by an alert from the control room. The shadow had shifted its course, moving unpredictably toward the city's energy core. Ethan's heart raced. "It's adapting," he said. "We need to react quickly. But this is good, it shows that the system works. We just need to refine it to anticipate these shifts." Together with the engineers, Ethan adjusted the devices, adding flexibility to the energy network. It was delicate work, requiring precision, creativity, and nerves of steel. Hours passed as they worked against the approaching shadow. Finally, the shadow collided with the energy network. This time, instead of consuming everything, it recoiled and paused, unable to find a weakness. The city remained intact and the system held. Ethan let out a deep breath, exhausted but exhilarated. Sarai placed a hand on his shoulder. "You did it. Your thinking, your human perspective, it saved us." Ethan smiled, feeling the weight of both pride and responsibility. "No, we did it together, and there's more work to do. The shadow isn't gone yet, but we now know we can fight it and win." For the first time since his arrival, Ethan truly felt the power of humanity's hidden strengths. He realized that courage, creativity, adaptability, and hope were tools as powerful as any technology. Even among advanced civilizations, these qualities could make the impossible achievable. Days turned into weeks as they continued refining the system. Each time the shadow moved, Ethan and the team adapted, learning its patterns, predicting its moves, and turning its own energy against it. Slowly, the city began to transform, not just surviving but thriving under human ingenuity and alien collaboration. Ethan became more than a human engineer. He was a symbol of resilience, determination, and hope. Sarai stood beside him, her trust unwavering. Together, they embodied the idea that two worlds, united in purpose, could overcome the greatest of cosmic threats. And as night fell once more over the floating city, Ethan looked at the stars beyond. He knew that Earth seemed small and distant now, but humanity's spirit, unyielding and inventive, had reached far beyond its home. The universe was watching, and it had seen what a single human could do. The shadow was still out there, but for the first time the city, and Ethan, felt ready. Humanity's hidden strength had revealed itself, and it was a force no darkness could easily extinguish. The city was tense. Every tower, every floating vehicle, every energy core hummed with urgency. Ethan Patel stood in the central command chamber, surrounded by the alien engineers and Sarai, who had never looked more serious. Outside the transparent walls, dark ripples of the shadow moved like ink spreading through the sky. It was larger now, faster and closer than ever before. "This is it," Sarai said, her voice calm but firm. "If we fail here, the city and possibly my entire civilization will be lost." Ethan swallowed, feeling the weight of the responsibility pressing down on him. He had never faced anything like this. On Earth, his challenges had been technical, personal, or small-scale. This was a threat to an entire world, and yet he felt a strange sense of clarity. The path forward was frightening, but it was not impossible. He walked over to the main control panel, where holographic projections of the shadow's movement danced in 3 dimensions. The team had been refining his system for weeks, combining alien technology with human logic, trial and error, and pattern recognition. It had slowed the shadow before, but this was the ultimate test. "We need to synchronize every energy node in the city," Ethan said, pointing at the projection. "Each one must resonate in perfect harmony to create a counterwave. If even one fails, the shadow could overwhelm us." A murmur ran through the engineers. They had never attempted something so risky. Sarai placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, grounding him. "We trust you," she said. "Lead us." The team began their work. Lights flickered as energy cores powered up, humming in anticipation. Ethan moved from station to station, checking calculations, adjusting sequences, and ensuring every node was aligned. Sweat dripped down his face. Every second counted. "Energy alignment is complete," one engineer reported. "We are ready for activation." Ethan took a deep breath. "Then we begin." He initiated the system. Beams of light and energy surged through the city, connecting the towers, the floating platforms, and the core. The entire city became a network of glowing lines and pulses. It looked like the city itself was alive, brimming with power and purpose. The shadow approached. Its dark tendrils lashed at the city, consuming everything in its path. But this time, the city was ready. Ethan's system predicted the shadow's movements, directing the energy nodes to counteract its force. For a moment, it seemed to falter. "Keep it steady," Ethan shouted. "Adjust frequency now." The engineers worked frantically, recalibrating, fine-tuning, and rerouting energy. The shadow recoiled again, moving unpredictably. It was adapting, but Ethan's system adapted faster. Hours passed like minutes. The tension in the chamber was palpable. Ethan's hands shook, but he refused to stop. Every decision mattered. Every calculation could mean the difference between survival and destruction. Suddenly, the shadow surged in a new pattern, faster and more aggressive than before. Ethan's system struggled to keep up. "It's changing too quickly," an engineer yelled. Ethan thought fast. "We need to do something bold, something the shadow won't anticipate." He turned to Sarai. "I need you to help me create a resonance pulse from the city core. It's risky, it could overload everything, but it might give us the control we need." Sarai nodded, unwavering. "Then we do it together." They approached the core, where immense energy pulsed like the heart of the city. Sarai began coordinating the alien engineers, while Ethan interfaced with the core, inputting sequences and synchronizing the entire network. The hum of energy intensified, resonating throughout the city, vibrating under their feet. The shadow struck with unmatched force, trying to breach the city's defenses. Ethan's pulse met it head-on. For a moment, Everything seemed to hang in the balance. Energy arcs flashed, lights flickered, and a deep vibration filled the air. Then slowly the shadow began to recoil. Its tendrils faltered, its dark mass quivered, and it started to retreat. Ethan felt his chest tighten with relief, but he did not let himself relax. One moment of carelessness could undo everything. "Maintain resonance," Ethan shouted. "Do not let it recover." The engineers responded with precision. They followed every instruction, trusting Ethan's human intuition. Sarai coordinated backup systems, amplifying the pulse with alien technology Ethan could barely comprehend. Together, human ingenuity and alien advancement formed a perfect balance. After what felt like an eternity, the shadow finally stopped. It hovered at the outskirts of the city, motionless for a heartbeat, and then dissipated like smoke in the wind. The city's energy network stabilized, the lights returning to a calm glow. The engineers cheered. Sarai exhaled, her shoulders relaxing for the first time in days. Ethan leaned against the console, exhausted but triumphant. "We did it," he whispered. Sarai approached, smiling. "Yes, we did. You led us through the impossible. Humanity's courage and ingenuity saved this city." Ethan shook his head. "No, we did it together. My ideas were nothing without your people's skills and trust." The city celebrated. Citizens emerged from their homes and floating towers, looking at the glowing structures that had defended them. They had faced the shadow and survived, thanks to a human they barely understood but now admired deeply. Over the following days, Ethan worked with Sarai to refine the city's defenses. They created systems that could detect the shadow's approach earlier, predict its movements more accurately, and strengthen the city's energy network. Ethan continued to teach the alien engineers human problem-solving techniques, improvisation, adaptation, and creative thinking. Sarai watched him with admiration. "Your people, they have a strength we never expected. It is not in technology or numbers. It is in courage, creativity, and hope." Ethan smiled. "That's all we have sometimes, but it can be enough." One evening, after another long day of planning and repairs, Ethan and Sarai stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The stars above seemed brighter, more alive. Ethan felt a sense of peace, tempered by the knowledge that the shadow could return. "You have changed my world," Sarai said softly, "not just with your ideas but with your spirit. You have reminded us that hope can be stronger than fear." Ethan looked at her. "I didn't come here expecting that. I just wanted to fix a broken signal. But maybe that's what humans are meant to do. We reach out, we connect, and sometimes we make a difference." Sarai nodded. "You made a difference beyond anything my people could have imagined, and now we have a chance to face the future with courage." Suddenly, an alert sounded from the command chamber. Ethan and Sarai rushed back inside. A new anomaly appeared on the sensors, smaller, faster, and moving unpredictably. The shadow was not gone. It was testing the city again. Ethan took a deep breath. "It's okay. We are ready. And we will adapt." He activated the refined network, sending coordinated pulses through the energy cores. The engineers followed his lead, their trust in him complete. The shadow struck, but this time, the city responded perfectly. It recoiled, twisted, and eventually retreated, unable to breach the defenses. Sarai placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You see, even in the face of darkness, your people shine. Courage, determination, ingenuity. That is humanity's true strength." Ethan smiled, feeling the truth of her words. He realized that it was not just technology or knowledge that saved them. It was the human spirit, the willingness to try, to fail, and to try again. It was hope, resilience, and creativity. And as the shadow finally vanished from the sensors, Ethan knew that the turning point had been reached. The city was safe, for now. His presence had made the impossible possible. Humanity's hidden strength had revealed itself in the most extraordinary way, and the bond between him and Sarai, and between two worlds, had grown stronger than ever. As night fell over the floating towers, Ethan looked at the stars. The universe was vast, full of mysteries and threats, but he felt ready. With courage, ingenuity, and determination, humans could face anything. And together with Sarai and her people, he knew they could overcome whatever challenges awaited. The shadow had tested them, but it had also shown them something vital, that even the smallest spark of hope could illuminate the darkest of skies. And for Ethan Patel, the human who had answered a broken signal, the adventure, and the fight for the future, was only beginning. The city glowed beneath Ethan Patel as he stood on the central balcony of the floating tower. The twin moons reflected off the crystal spires, painting the streets in soft silver light. For the first time in weeks, a calm had settled over the city, though Ethan knew it was only temporary. The shadow was still out there somewhere in the galaxy, testing, searching, waiting. But now the city and its people were ready. Sarai approached, her glowing eyes warm with pride. "You've changed everything, Ethan," she said softly. "Not just the defenses, but our people, they believe again." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't do this alone. You and your people did it too, I just helped guide it a little differently." Sarai smiled. "Perhaps, but you brought something my people had forgotten, hope, humanity's hope. It is a rare strength, one we will never forget." The calm was broken by a sudden alert from the control room. Ethan and Sarai rushed inside. The sensors showed an anomaly unlike anything they had seen before. The shadow had returned, but this time it moved with a strange intelligence. It seemed to learn from their defenses, predicting their every move. Ethan studied the holographic display, his brow furrowed. "It's adapting faster than before," he muttered. "We need a new strategy, something bold." Sarai placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we face it together. Whatever happens, we fight side by side." The engineers and scientists gathered, tension evident on every face. Ethan addressed them, feeling a deep sense of responsibility. "We've learned its patterns. We've adapted before, and we can do it again. This time, we combine everything we've built with one final, coordinated attack. We will use the entire city's energy network to create a resonance pulse strong enough to repel it completely." A hush fell over the chamber. The risk was enormous. If they miscalculated, the energy pulse could overload the city's systems, causing massive damage. But Ethan's confidence inspired the team. They had seen what human ingenuity, combined with alien technology, could accomplish. "We're ready," one engineer said firmly. "We trust you," Ethan nodded. "Then let's begin." They activated the network. Towers, platforms, and energy cores pulsed in perfect synchronization. Light arced across the city like veins of electricity, connecting every point in a massive web of power. The shadow approached, its dark tendrils reaching hungrily for the city. "Focus on resonance," Ethan shouted. "Adjust frequencies as needed." The engineers and scientists worked with precision, following Ethan's instructions. Sarai coordinated the entire effort, her calm voice cutting through the tension. Ethan monitored the system, adjusting timing and energy flow with careful calculations. Every second was critical. The shadow struck, colliding with the energy pulse. For a moment it recoiled, but this time it did not retreat. It pushed harder, testing the city's defenses in ways they had never imagined. Ethan's hands moved swiftly across the controls, inputting adjustments, rerouting energy, and maintaining the delicate balance. "It's learning from us," shouted an engineer. "It's anticipating our moves." Ethan took a deep breath. "Then we must outthink it. We do something it cannot predict. Prepare the core pulse." The central energy core began to glow brighter than ever before. Light filled the chamber, reflecting off walls, floors, and faces. Ethan's heart pounded as he coordinated the sequence. The pulse would need to be perfect. One misstep could destroy everything. Sarai's hand found his. "We trust you," she said quietly. "Lead us." Ethan nodded, determination blazing in his eyes. "Here goes everything." He activated the core pulse. A wave of energy surged outward, connecting with every node in the city. Light and sound filled the sky, and the shadow collided with the pulse. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the shadow began to falter. Its tendrils writhed and twisted, unable to adapt fast enough to the sudden, overwhelming force. The city held. The shadow shrieked in a soundless roar, dark energy dispersing like smoke in the wind. It retreated, breaking apart, and finally vanished beyond the edges of the galaxy. The city's energy network stabilized, and silence fell. Ethan slumped against the console, exhausted but exhilarated. Sarai's hand remained on his shoulder, steadying him. "You did it," she said softly. "You saved us, all of us." The engineers and citizens cheered, filling the chamber with a sense of triumph that Ethan had never experienced before. The impossible had been achieved. A human, guided by courage, determination, and creative thinking, had helped save an entire civilization. In the days that followed, the city celebrated. Ethan became a hero, though he never saw himself that way. He preferred to watch the people smile, to see hope restored, to witness the sense of unity and trust that had returned. Humans, he realized, had a gift that no technology could replace: the ability to inspire, to persevere, and to believe in the impossible. Sarai walked beside him during the celebrations, her eyes reflecting the lights of the city. "Your people," she said, "have something powerful. They are not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most advanced, but they have something no other civilization can match: courage, adaptability, and hope. You reminded us of that." Ethan smiled. "I think every species has its strengths, but humans, we don't give up. We find a way, even when it seems hopeless." Sarai looked at him, her glowing eyes filled with warmth. "And that is why I sought you. My people's legend spoke of a human who would arrive in our time of need. You are that human." Ethan felt a strange mixture of pride and humility. He had never thought of himself as special, but the universe had called and he had answered. Somehow, that was enough. In the weeks that followed, Ethan continued to help Sarai's civilization rebuild and strengthen its defenses. He shared human techniques for problem-solving, improvisation, and innovation. He helped integrate new technologies into the city systems, blending human ideas with alien engineering. The citizens watched with awe as a human taught their greatest minds, proving that courage and ingenuity were universal forces. One evening, Ethan stood on a balcony overlooking the city, Sarai beside him. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the floating towers, calm and serene after the recent chaos. "You changed my world," Sarai said softly, "not just with your mind but with your spirit. You reminded us that hope can shine brighter than fear." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't do it alone. You and your people made it possible. I just helped guide the process." Sarai smiled. "Perhaps, but it was you who answered the call. You who trusted in yourself, in humanity, and in us. That is why we survived. That is why we thrive." For a long moment they stood together, looking at the stars. The city below hummed with life, energy, and hope. Ethan realized that his life had changed forever. He had crossed galaxies, faced unimaginable danger, and discovered a strength he never knew he possessed. Humanity's spirit had reached far beyond Earth, leaving a mark on a civilization light years away. Ethan thought of home, of Earth, of the quiet nights spent listening to signals from the stars. He smiled softly. What had begun as a simple act, fixing a broken signal, had turned into a journey he could never have imagined. He had found purpose, adventure, and a sense of belonging that went beyond any planet or species. Sarai turned to him, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the moons. "Will you stay?" she asked quietly. "You have a place here with us." Ethan considered it. His heart had always been drawn to the stars, to exploration and discovery. He had found friendship, trust, and a sense of purpose here, but Earth was still home in ways he could not ignore. Yet he realized something important. Wherever he went, his spirit, courage, and creativity could make a difference. "I think I will visit," he said, finally smiling. "But my home is Earth, and now I know I can carry humanity's spirit anywhere, even here." Sarai nodded. "Then the universe is lucky to have you." In the following months, Ethan helped establish new systems of cooperation between humans and the Lyrian people. Scientists exchanged knowledge, engineers collaborated on new energy networks, and citizens of both worlds marveled at what could be accomplished when courage and creativity met advanced technology. The shadow never returned, at least not in full force. But the lessons of the battle endured. Humanity's ingenuity, its courage, and its hope had saved a civilization. And in the hearts of the Lyrian people, the name of one human, Ethan Patel, would always be remembered. One night, standing on the highest tower, Ethan gazed at the stars. He thought of Earth, of the humans working tirelessly, dreaming, creating, and persevering. He realized that the universe was vast, full of challenges, but also full of possibilities. And no matter how dark the night, the human spirit could shine brighter than any shadow. Sarai joined him silently, and together they looked out at the city, the stars, and the endless possibilities beyond. The journey had begun with a broken signal. It had led to courage, collaboration, and triumph. It had proven that even one human could change the course of civilizations. And as Ethan stood there, feeling the hum of life and energy around him, he understood a truth that would stay with him forever. The universe was vast. The challenges were great, but humanity, with its heart, hope, and ingenuity, was capable of greatness beyond imagination. And that was a beginning, not an ending. Ethan smiled, ready to face whatever the universe would send next, knowing that wherever humans went, their spirit would leave an indelible mark.